Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 3. Before we start talking about week 3, there are a couple of things that I just wanted to remind you of and also to discuss based on our learning from week 2. So let me just check my notes to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. One, when you're doing your discussions, make sure that your initial response to the prompt also includes references and in-text citations. They should be in APA format. When I say references and in-text citations, I just want to point out that for every reference you should have at least one in-text citation, and that goes for written work as well. The reason why this is important is because we want to know which ideas you got from each particular reference. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me or reach out to the Writing Center, and we can provide a little bit more information about that. So another thing that came up quite a bit, and I know I asked quite a few of you during the discussion, was really about the tourist approach to diversity. So you can think of that as something you'd like to avoid, that it really is a tokenistic approach to multiculturalism. So many early childhood settings celebrate festivals and foods and music from particular countries. And it's a really, really good intention, and it's a good intention for including diversity in early childhood, but it really isn't, I guess, indicative of genuine cultural responsiveness to families' needs, aspirations, and desires. So while sharing all those things is really wonderful, and I love how just about everybody really involved families, and that helps us look at culture more broadly. But things to think about are how you can include multiculturalism as sort of an ever-present part of what you're teaching. And I just wanted to point out to you a really good resource. There's something called the Anti-Bias Curriculum for Young Children. This is from the National Association of the Education of Young Children. In Massachusetts and in Connecticut, it's often referred to as NIAC. The rest of the world calls it NACI. We call it NIAC. This is a great book if you are an early childhood educator or you're going to work with young children. This is a very old edition of it, and I believe it's been updated several times since I bought this edition. But this is a great, great book to have on your bookshelf. The other thing I mentioned to a few of you is something that I have started to learn more about, and that's microaggressions. So a good example of a microaggression could be you meet somebody and they let's say they appear to be Asian, and you ask them, so where are you from? That can be considered a microaggression because it's making the assumption that they're from someplace else. So you ask somebody who appears to be Asian in this example where they're from, and they say, I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts. That isn't what you were trying to elicit, but it could be considered, I guess, a way that could be seen as not being very culturally sensitive. I don't have all the answers to this, but a really, really good website to help you learn more and help you appreciate this idea of diversity and anti-racism is called Embrace Race, EMBRACERACE, and I believe it's .com. Let me see if I can look it up here. Yeah, it's .org, embracerace.org, no spaces. You can sign up for their emails. They frequently have webinars and conversations, and I find that I am learning a lot about racism and about anti-bias. Something that some of you also mentioned was this idea of implicit bias. And to let you know that there have been a lot of studies about implicit bias. One of the most, I guess, current ones is actually out of Yale University in New Haven, where Walter Gilliam, who is one of their lead researchers, actually explored implicit bias in early childhood classrooms. And what he found was that it didn't matter what race or ethnicity the teacher was, they tended to look toward children of color, in particular young boys of color, as ones who are going to have antisocial or acting out kind of behaviors in classrooms. If you're interested in looking at that study, there are some great videos, and Walter has done some great conversations about that. If you just Google Yale Gilliam, Gilliam, implicit bias, you will come up with all of Walter's research, and it is fascinating. Let's see. And then the very last thing I wanted to mention about multiculturalism is really trying to educate people that idea of color blindness. I know that I've had people say, I don't really need to address this because I'm colorblind. Everybody's the same and they get treated the same. And what we are finding is that that really isn't an effective approach because we're not all the same and we do look different. And some people have, I have white privilege, and I know that every time I walk out the door, I don't need to think about my race. Whereas somebody who is black or brown may think about their race every time they walk out the door. And that can be an example of why being colorblind is not effective. So I hope all of this makes sense. If any of you are interested in more of a discussion, there is an early childhood multicultural education course that I have taught from time to time, which will explore all of these topics, but in way more depth. So that's just my going back to week 2. And if you have any questions or I've said anything that sort of piqued your interest or even that you might not agree with, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. So going on to week 3, we're going to learn about different kinds of early childhood programs. In particular, we're going to be looking at High Scope, Montessori, Reggio Emilia, Head Start, and then we're also going to look at curricular approaches such as the project approach and the creative curriculum. And you're also going to get a chance to read about parents, families, and the community. And you will notice, based on the comments that I have made during our discussions and on your assignments, that family is a huge part of early childhood, and ways to meaningfully include them in our classrooms and in our programs is very, very important. So I guess I will leave it there because I feel like I've gone on an awful lot this week. If you have any other questions or issues, or if you're having any kind of difficulties, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to set up a time to talk. Those of you that have reached out know that I will get back to you definitely within a day, usually within a couple hours. I'm really enjoying our discussions in this class. You're very good writers and you're very good thinkers, and it's just a pleasure to follow the discussions as you guys go back and forth. And one other thing, just there were a few of you that for whatever your reasons are, wait until Saturday to make your discussion posts after you do your Thursday requirement for the initial prompt. Try your very, very hardest not to save all your posting for the last day. It really makes it so it's difficult to have a really rich, robust discussion with all of us when there's really not an opportunity for anybody to respond to your thoughts. So that's my last thought of this introduction to week 3. I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you, and have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.